Am I the idiot for making inappropriate noises when my mother-in-law called my husband's phone at 2 a.m.? My husband Kevin and I got married months ago. Ever since we moved away, his mom started calling more often. She had a mental breakdown when she heard we were moving. She begged we stay near cause she needs him, even though her 2 older sons are there. Anyhow, she'd call at random times, then started calling in the middle of the night, specifically at 2 a.m. I thought that was so weird, but she said she wanted to hear Kevin's voice but was too busy to call during the day. Kevin responds to her call every time saying he's worried there might be an emergency. It's exhausting, and completely ruins our alone time. I asked her to call at like 10 but no, she kept calling at 2. Kevin said he can't bring himself to ignore her calls, and asked that I be patient. Last night, I decided I wasn't having it. I waited till Kevin was asleep and put his phone on vibrate, and waited for her to call. 2 o'clock rolls around and the phone starts vibrating on the nightstand. I stretch my arm to answer, and then I start making sex noises from the bed. I'm talking full-on moaning and then some dirty talk. Few seconds in and she ends the call. Kevin wakes up and asks if I was alright. I tell him it's just the fever, then he goes back to sleep. I woke up to a complete disaster with Kevin asking what the freak I did last night when his mom called. Clearly she was livid and mortified, cause Kevin said I just traumatized her by having her think we were having sex when she called. I told him what I did and insisted it was just out of frustration, but he said I shouldn't have done that, and embarrassed him, and made his mom uncomfortable. I said she was calling at 2 a.m. He said still, I acted childishly, and potentially harmed his relationship with her. I told him to just tell her I was behind this and he said, oh don't worry about it, I will, then demanded I apologize to her immediately, but her shaming texts made me refuse. I might have went about this the wrong way, but I was just frustrated, that's all. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Was it childish? Absolutely. But so is she. However, the biggest problem here isn't your mother-in-law, it's your husband. Not the idiot. They seem to have a codependent relationship, and you're stuck in the middle. He says you made his mom uncomfortable. Always being woke up at 2 a.m. isn't comfortable for you either, OP. Your husband is the problem. Childish, sure, but after constantly calling and waking you guys up, she got what she deserved. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. She knows very well 2 a.m. is not an okay time to call just to hear his voice. That's creepy, weird and invasive. He needs to man up and tell his mom to stop. She's intentionally calling at a time where it is inappropriate. She heard inappropriate things as a result. Next time though, just answer and tell her it is past a reasonable hour, and she can call between time and no, not the idiot. Am I the idiot for hiding toys in the places where my fiancé's mom has been snooping? So recently my fiancé's mom, we'll just call her mother-in-law for brevity, moved into my and my fiancé's house. She found out her husband had a few girlfriends, and she was kicked out. We took her in. Her mom had never liked me. Her dad and I were cool until the split, but she has just never been a fan of me. Honestly, I think she might just have some issues with men in general, because after she found out about her husband she has liked me less. So my mother-in-law has a snooping problem. She looks through mostly my stuff, my gaming equipment, my drawers, my nightstand, my cabinets. Just if I'm there for an extended period of time she snoops. She also doesn't like that I spend an hour and a half a day at the gym, and has looked through my gym bag before. I've never caught her red-handed, but my stuff started ending up unorganized the week she moved in, so I'm 99% sure it's her. I've brought this up to my fiancé and she excuses it. She says her mom is fragile right now, and she is just trying to look out for her after what her dad did. I've had multiple conversations with my mother-in-law about it, and she says that she has no idea what I'm talking about. So I got the idea from a buddy to start hiding weird things where she looks to deter her. What I decided was that I would hide sex toys. So I hid a few of our toys, including a strap, handcuffs, a vibrator, 2 dildos, and a few rings just around. I do this at night when everyone is sleeping. When I got back from work that next day, I'm greeted by my mother-in-law telling me that I'm sick, and should be ashamed of myself. She also confronted my fiancé about this. She is a conservative woman, and I guess the sight of all of our toys made her think we're sexual deviants. My fiancé was mad at me. She told me that I put her in an awkward position with her mother. I told her it's not my fault that she was looking through my stuff, and if she didn't want to see anything she didn't want to see, she should have not snooped. My fiancé blames me for this, and now I'm at odds with her too. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You now have proof she was snooping. Kick her out. If your fiancé doesn't respect you or your privacy, you have bigger issues. Not the idiot. You asked her to stop snooping, she denied doing so. You mentioned it to your SO, she blew it off. In the grand scheme of things, adult toys in private places she would never see if she weren't snooping where she didn't belong isn't going to harm anyone, and it lets everyone know she was lying. The one thing I have an issue with is your SO not backing you up on this. You have the right to privacy in your own home, and her mother is blatantly violating this after repeated requests from you to stop, and now there is irrefutable proof that she is. If I had been the SO, even if I originally thought you were exaggerating, I would have blown up on my mom if she came to me complaining about something like this, and essentially admitting to all the wrongdoing that she'd previously denied. You may want to consider if your SO will always take mom's side on arguments against you before continuing the relationship. Not the idiot. This is a hill to die on, it's an incredible invasion of privacy, and your fiancé should understand and have your back. Tell mother-in-law it's time to stop lying and being a creep, or she can leave your home. Am I the idiot for locking my mother-in-law out of my house? I know the title sounds very butthole-ish, but let me explain myself. My husband and I, 30 male and 32 female, have been married for 5 years now, and we have a 3-year-old son. My mother-in-law has been disapproving of me since the start. My husband had to literally beg her to let me marry him. Every time she visits our home, she always complains how messy it is and that I never clean, even though our house is very tidy, and she just nitpicks every detail. I can't criticize anything about my husband in front of her, or she will go berserk and start berating me. She holds back a little when my husband is around, but when it's just us two she treats me like absolute trash. Things got even worse after we had our son. She would come over completely unannounced when my husband was at work, and she'd tell me everything I was doing wrong with our son, and how I was a terrible mother. My husband knew that we didn't have a good relationship, but he's such a mama's boy and didn't do much about it. About a month ago, we moved to a different state because of my husband's work. I was honestly super relieved because it meant I didn't have to see my mother-in-law as often anymore. But a few days ago my husband said that she would be visiting us to come see our new house, and I agreed only if she stayed in a hotel instead of our place. I knew this must have pissed her off. She was supposed to come over for dinner, and my husband was going to pick her up from her hotel after he got off work, but she decided to come earlier without telling us. I was already extremely stressed out because I was still trying to get settled in our new home, and my son got a fever so I had to take him to the hospital. I'm also 4 months pregnant so I'm always tired, and my mood can be unstable. Our doorbell has a camera and monitor, and when I saw it was her, I just did not want to deal with her so I didn't let her in. I turned off my phone so I didn't see her calls or the messages from my husband. She was at our door ringing the doorbell for about 15 minutes before she finally gave up and left. When my husband got home he was absolutely livid with me, and asked what possible reason I had to not let his mother in. I was so frustrated that I just burst into tears and told him how his mom had been bullying me. And that I was so stressed out about everything that had been happening, and he just said that it was cold outside, and she was old and could have gotten sick. I didn't have the energy to argue with him anymore so I just stopped talking and went to bed. Later that night I heard him on the phone with her, and she said she would go home early, and demanded that we get divorced, which made me really upset. Am I justified for my actions or am I the idiot? OP needs to tell her husband that his mother has 100% burned her bridge with the mother of her grandson, and as a result she will no longer host his mother unless he is around to ensure that she doesn't get bullied. No more surprise visits, no more unrestricted access. Which also means she will see a lot less of her grandchildren. Which is a choice she made by repeatedly telling the OP she was a bad mother. She can come around on pre-scheduled visits with her son only. And show him this thread, just so he realizes how wildly out of line he is to let his mother terrorize his wife. OP needs to sit her husband down and tell him he has an unhealthy attachment to his mother, and that it is not okay that he's fine with her bullying OP and stomping all over her boundaries. OP needs to tell the husband that they need to get into marriage counseling. If her husband doesn't see the problem, OP should go stay with a friend, or at a hotel with her child while mother-in-law is in town, and tell her husband to enjoy his cruel mother. Not the idiot. Not the idiot. You married this guy because? If he isn't willing to stand up for you, and tell his mother to knock off the bowl, it's certainly not going to get any better. He's shown you where you rank. And it's a couple pegs below the woman whose permission he needed to marry you. Am I the idiot for making my mother-in-law cry? I, 26 female, and my husband, 26 male, have been together for 8 years and married for 1. We have 2 kids together and just bought a house. My mother-in-law came by to visit the other day when my husband was at work, and my youngest child, 4, was having a full-blown meltdown. My youngest son has mild autism and severe ADHD, and my mother-in-law knows this. Well, my older child, 8, lets her in, and I am dealing with the toddler in a separate room to calm him down. My mother-in-law comes to me and sits down and starts talking. Well, I get my toddler to calm down and she looks at me and goes, "It's a good thing you came to your senses and decided not have any more of those." Now this instantly angered me because I had a lot of complications with my second pregnancy, and I was put under a lot of stress during this pregnancy by my husband's family. Because they didn't want me to be pregnant. I had my older son at 17, and he was not biologically my husband's. However, my husband has been around and raised him since he was born, because his bio dad disappeared. My youngest son was supposed to be a twin, but I lost one early in the pregnancy. And during my whole pregnancy my in-laws kept pressuring me to get my tubes tied because they didn't think I should have any more kids. Not for the medical reasons I chose to have it done. My in-laws have never liked me or approved of me because they don't like the family I come from. I calmly tell my toddler to go play with his brother because I need to talk to his grandma. After he leaves, I look at her and tell her she needs to leave. She gets mad and tells me I have no right to tell her to leave because it's her son's house, not mine. I am a stay-at-home mom with no income or credit, so only my husband's name is on the loan of the house. I am really pissed now and say you are being a vindictive witch, and it's funny that you tell me about how I don't need more children, when you only closed up your baby factory after you had 5 kids because you cared more about having a daughter than being a good mother. Well, she left and then later told my husband a bunch of lies, and he came home and asked me about it. I told him what happened and he believes me because he knows how his mother is. But now she is saying I am horrible, and she refuses to come back till I apologize. I said then she just won't come back. But now my husband's whole family is mad at both of us for him taking my side. So am I the idiot? Edit, this is kind of important. My mother-in-law blames me for my youngest son having autism and ADHD, even though my husband has ADHD, and told my husband that if he chose to breed with good stock, and pick someone she approved of, his son wouldn't be messed up. So, she says something rude, you take the high road and ask her to leave. She says more rude things, to which you respond in kind, deservedly so, and now she's making you out to be the bad guy. I'm so tired of these bullies with martyrdom complexes. If you can't take it, don't dish it out. Not the idiot, and hope that she holds true to her ultimatum of not coming back until you apologize. Not the idiot OP, but your mother-in-law is a massive idiot. Her talking about the loan on the house, how does she know this? Obviously your husband has talked to her. It's great that he has your back in this fight so far, but why are you not on the deed to the house? He can add you at any time, and it has nothing to do with credit history or score like a loan does. I get that this is commonplace for a lot of married couples, but in your case with his toxic in-laws, his oversharing, and the fact that while he has your back here, it sounds like he is still entertaining the rest of his family, and probably not ready to completely cut out his mother from his life. It makes sense to ensure that you are covered in terms of housing. Not the idiot. She referred to your children as those, dehumanizing them. She has shown that she really doesn't care about you or your children, despite the fact that one is her own grandchild. I think you should go low or no contact. You don't need that kind of poison in your life. If anyone on your husband's side of the family really cared about being in your lives, they wouldn't let such venomous comments pass out their mouths.